Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Starring Clark Gregg, Ming-Na Wen, Chloe Bennett, Elizabeth Henstridge, Henry Simmons, Natalia Cordova Buckley, Jeff Ward.
Are we live?
It's live now.
Yes, we are. Hi, YouTube.
Here's a goodness.
Welcome to episode 710. We're here with the director, Gary Brown. Oh no, oh, no. I've got this one
Yes,
going.
we are. Hi.
There we go. Oh, every week I do that. Director, Gary Brown. Stunt woman extraordinaire, Melissa Martin. Do you want Martin or Brown?
Either one, I guess. I am a Martin now, but people know me as Brown. So,
Well, and
She's a Brown Martin.
yeah, I guess you could. Yeah, that works.
Well, I'm so excited for this week in your stunts because they're just incredible, and I can't wait till we get to it in the episode so that I want to know. I wasn't there that day. I want to know how it happened.
Oh, I haven't even seen it yet, so I'm pretty excited to see it in action as well.
Well, I will describe what's happening. I'll just read the description of this episode so we know where we are, and try. Well, this does have a spoiler in it, so close your ears if you're not up to date. Okay, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 7, episode 10 is called Stolen. After Enoch's sacrifice propelled them out of the time storm, the team arrives back in 1983, where Nathaniel and Cora are hard at work building an army of hand-selected anarchist inhumans at Afterlife. When the agents split up to cover more ground, Daisy is tasked with protecting Jiaying and is compelled to confront her mother for the first time since her death, while the others quickly learn they'll need to face yet another supercharged former enemy in order to stop Malik.
That's one of the many reasons you are such a terrific actress, because you went right through that description without stumbling.
No breaths. I can still read, thank goodness. It's hard to know what your skills are at the end of quarantine.
Right. Oh, well, by the way, speaking of quarantine, how are you and Zach doing?
Oh, we're doing, oh my gosh, look, it's Kyle. We're good, yes.
Yeah, doing well.
We're still in the Midwest, so, you know.
And we're still together.
And we're still together. Government mandated.
Yeah, it's
but we're still
mandated,
together.
but, you know.
Yay. Well, I'm glad you guys are doing well, because I think we're in different parts of the country, but I hope that everybody that's watching is safe and healthy, and their family is well, all over the country and the world, who are taking their time out of their day to watch us.
Yes, we're thinking of you all, and hopefully this can serve as maybe a bit of a light relief. And they just announced that S.H.I.E.L.D.'s going to do a 2 episode finale. So we only have this and then 2 more.
That's crazy.
That's pretty crazy, especially since we waited for this for so long. It's so exciting, and then I feel like it just went by so fast.
So fast, I know. One, especially when there's not much else to do. You're just sitting around waiting for the next week. Or I am.
Of course everybody is.
Oh, here comes George Kitson. I feel like Kyle tried
What
to
happened to
log
Kyle?
on. I don't know. He was here, and then we should explain how Oh, George!
Hello.
Hello!
George, how are you?
Hi, Gare. Good to see you guys.
George, we should explain just before it starts, maybe. How did the writing work for this episode? Because you are the writer of the episode, like, technically.
Sort of, yeah. It was a mishmash. Yeah, like Mark.
A tag team writing session, wasn't it?
Yeah, so Mark Bruner was Jeff Bell's assistant at the time, and he got the freelance script. He was going to write it, so he wrote the outline, and then he got staffed on a different show, on Legends of Tomorrow, so he had to go like right away. So they gave it to me and Leitner to write the script, and then Leitner disappeared because he also got hired. So then it was just Gary and I.
Right.
One last ride.
Yeah. Well, we did it once before, a couple times before. Might as well do it again.
This was 3. This was the third
This
one.
was 3.
So
Yeah.
it started with Mark Brunner, and
Mhm.
then he got staffed on another show. Oh, he's coming in.
Here he
And
is.
then
Yep.
it went to Mark Leitner, who started writing it, and then he had to leave, and then it went to you.
Well, it went from Bruner to me and Leitner together. We co-wrote the script, but then
Oh.
when it came time for production, he also bailed because he got so I was like the
This is what
last man.
happens near the end of seasons.
Yes, exactly.
Hey!
Hey everyone.
Hey, Mark! We were just hearing the story of how many writers were involved in the script.
Oh yeah, the betrayal that left George the last man standing.
Yeah. He did
George
an
and I,
okay
right at
job.
the end there, Mark.
Yeah.
It started. Press play if you're watching along. I almost got that. Every week I try and be like, press play now.
So close.
And I was very close. Okay, sorry, Mark. Carry on. Just so then people are
Oh
time.
no, how far did George get? I don't want to overlap.
You can describe your own betrayal. Go ahead.
Well, no, so yeah, I was Jeff Bell's assistant, which was George's old job a few years ago, and I was lucky enough to be given a freelance by Jeff, Jed, and Mo, and I happened during the process to end up getting staffed on another show. I was an assistant, and on the writing side, the dream is to get staffed, and it was both bittersweet in that I kind of handed in my outline, and then the next day started on Legends of Tomorrow on the CW. So
What a crazy week.
very crazy. Yes. It was also like I felt so bad because they'd given me this amazing opportunity, and I was a fan of the show. I started season 5 and was a fan of the show even before I came on. So being able to craft an episode with the help of the other writers was just great. And then it was like, oh, and now I'm leaving and I don't get to see this through. And I was excited to work with Gary on set. And I didn't get to do that either. But just seeing the episode, it turned out amazing. So I'm just so excited that it's finally here. And
It's so good. And it was so exciting for you to get the script. And I mean, the story's amazing. So much happens in this episode. I don't know how you managed to fit it all in, because as we're like getting towards the end of the season, there's so much to fit in. Like there's so much story in this episode.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, we had just having the Olivers, they'd kind of introduced Jiang back into the story, and we knew we wanted to deal with that, wrapping that up with Daisy and that relationship. And then, having John Garret, obviously it was just like so much fun because, him in the first season was so great. Yeah, it was like, there was a lot of fun toys to work with for this. And yeah, it was just, there definitely was a lot to juggle, but, the story, George was in the room with me when we were breaking it. So he was there from the beginning as well. And it came together like pretty cleanly. I mean, under, Jeff, Jed, and Mo, like the way that they just like kind of run the show, it just, everything kind of, it just came together nicely. So I'm like, I'm just going to take it. It could have been serendipitous, but there were some very smart brains. Craig Titley was kind of in charge of the room, and he was great to work with. It could not have been a better experience, which is also kind of sad why I left partway through. So but yeah, and we also wanted to, I think, because your episode was so amazing, and you were just come off directing, we need to rest you a little bit, so you were a little lighter, I think, in this one.
I know, I was saying to Gary before that I was just so out of it during this episode that I hope I was somewhat okay on set, because I was just like, Gary, whatever you want, I've got no brain power left, I'll stand anywhere.
Speaking of that, Elizabeth, which I wanted to say, which is, you doing the episode prior to me, I was prepping while you were shooting, and you did such a terrific job of preparation going into your episode, and it came across beautifully when it aired last week. And you should be really proud of it, because I'm really proud of you for doing that. And basically, it was a joy for me being able to follow you, because your episode is so great. It set everybody up and brought the audience, hopefully, to this next episode. That's usually kind of how it works, right? The great episode before brings the audience to the next one. And so I have no doubt that's what's going to happen here, but you did an awesome job.
Oh God, Gary, thank you. Well, I couldn't say the last time you were on for episode 4, that you've just been I mean, you're such a huge part of booking the directors, and you championed me, and I can't thank you enough. Like, I mean, we've had this conversation a bazillion times, but I'm very grateful to you. You've changed a lot of people's careers and given a lot of people a leg up.
Maybe.
Speaking of someone you brought up.
Elizabeth, thank you for saying so. But I mean, again, it was like Elizabeth is looking forward to directing. Absolutely. Are you kidding me? I mean, it was such a great experience for me having you.
Oh, thank you, Gary. Kyle!
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Kyle.
Sorry, I have a guest as well.
Oh, good. The glamorous assistant.
This is Addie. I don't know if everyone remembers Addie.
Addie, oh my gosh,
Whoa.
Addie, you're so big.
Addie.
What's up?
This is Kyle Jewell, everybody. He is the amazing DP, director of photography. Can you explain, Kyle, kind of what a DP is?
Jump right
Well-
into it, Kyle.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Right into it, bro.
Yeah, I mean, working directly with the director, and we're in charge of basically the lighting and camera and everything that goes along with everyone in the frame.
Wow.
And
Well,
you.
make it sound- yeah. And you and Gary have a special friendship.
We do. I feel like Gary and we collaborate quite well together. So
You guys are dynamite together.
Yeah, we, you know, listen, I'm very fortunate to have Kyle on most recently the episodes that I've had the opportunity to direct. I mean, Alan Westbrook has been with me as well, but you know, my relationship with Kyle as a DP is that first and foremost, we go into the process saying, how can we make this fun? You know, we want to make this fun, which when you make it fun, it brings out the best work in everybody. And
That's right.
you know, we go into each project saying, how can we make that enjoyable so everybody puts in their best work to the project? And I think we do that. And then we come up based on, because we all know it starts with the script, George and Mark, and when we get handed a great piece of material like we have, then it's easy for us to come together with a plan on how we're going to make this work. And I think that's the fun opportunity that Kyle have and I to do together, is that we have that fun opportunity to figure out how to make this great piece of work on the page come to life on the screen.
Yeah,
That's right.
it really does.
Doing
Your
it.
guys'
Doing it.
sets are so fun. And we've just got to the scene where we're all kind of gathered in, because that's the other thing about this episode. We're back in what did we call it? The lighthouse?
Lighthouse, yes.
Yeah. Which we haven't been in these sets for so long. So it's nice to like see all the characters in there again, but we're at the scene where we're all in, what's that room called? That's like the command thing where everything happens. There's this big screen.
It's been a year. I think it's command or control command.
Control room.
Is it control?
It's control, yeah.
And you make them, Gary and Kyle, you've made these so like a very dynamic scene, because I mean there's 8 actors in this scene, and it's so much information. It's all like, you know, a lot of talking, and we've done scenes in there so much. Like, how do you approach a scene like that and go, I need to make this kind of a bit different, I need to get the information, like what do you start with that?
Well, I mean, it was really, Kyle, I'll just speak first if you don't mind, but
Yeah, go.
wasn't it nice for Mark and George to put us on stage for the entire episode?
Oh, Mark.
Wonderful.
Basically a handful of sets. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. 2 locations. Well, I guess and the Quinjet.
Right.
And after like hallway and room, 2 rooms.
Yeah. So
hallway.
I think with that too, you know, when we're handed, listen, it's a chore for those guys, number one, to say, you know, we're on episode 10 in season 7. We've got maybe some finances to save, or
Gotta get that big finale.
or to manage for the
Yeah.
last 2 or 3 episodes. So their challenge was, guys, put them in one set. So that's a challenge for those guys, first of all, to write that and contain us. But then Kyle and I have to go, okay, this is what we got. And so we need to come up with what are the most amazing dynamic shots that tell the story that these guys have written to the utmost in enjoyable look. I mean,
Gary, I'm gonna sneak in real quick. The best
Okay,
part
go.
of what he's saying right there is sitting in a closed room door in Gary's office and dancing around the room like we're two little 10-year-olds, like just going nuts, trying to figure out what that exact shot is.
Those scenes are so hard. I mean, even just, I mean, for me, this one was weird because every other script I've ever written on the show, right? Like I knew I was writing it from day one and went all the way through. And so this was, for me, a whole new experience, just having the handoff basically, even though I was around for some of it, but it's very different to be in the writer's room when someone else is at the writer's, you know, up at the whiteboard writing out like, and then this character and this character and this character and this character talk about this in the control room. That's very different than when you have to go, how do I write this with 10 people speaking and everyone needs enough to do? And how do you make it interesting? Exactly like Gary and Kyle are saying, you know, and then it really is a credit to them that we've seen these sets so many times and these characters so many times, but like they could keep it moving and all those scenes could be so interesting despite all that, you know, it's challenging.
Yeah. So you just start from going, how do we like make this as, how do we have fun at the same time as obviously getting across the information?
Exactly.
Well, so good. I've forgotten how much we were in there. I think it's because I was hardly in this episode, so I just had no idea what was going on. Gary, how was it having Jiaying back? Like, how I guess for the writers too, of like, was it fun to? I mean, this is a really meaty episode for Jiaying and Daisy. How was that? Were you given? Did they say to you, "This is the episode that this is going to be"? Like that these scenes are going to happen?
Mark,
Do you remember?
Yes, Mark. Do they?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was basically, we knew from the Oliver's episode, I believe, that she was going to be in that one, but then it was going to do the time loop, your episode, that she was not, and then we were going to have her come back. So we knew we were playing with that dynamic. And I mean, I was just super excited for that, just especially because the way that she ended in season 2 was so like heartbreaking with her and, you know, Calvin, and just that whole dynamic of mother-daughter. I mean, I'm a sucker for mother son, all the sibling or the parent and child relationship stuff always gets me. So I was excited to, you know, hopefully like revise that relationship for Daisy. But yeah, no, I think we knew like pretty early on that we were gonna have her involved. It was just a matter, of like, now that she's coming on into the lighthouse, how are we going to keep her on that set, and like how are we going to get over to Afterlife and that. So.
And do you watch that, like, George, I guess, seeing as you wrote the dialogue, do you go back and watch previous episodes to like remember how a character speaks? And
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with this one, the most recent, right, was 708, right, the Oliver script where she was in, you know, so we had her very recently. So probably for in this instance, I looked at that specifically, but, you know, you know, Garret in this episode, I 100% went back and watched, you know, some of, you know, Bill back in the day, you know, old episodes.
How was that?
You know, I mean, that was a thrill, to be honest. I mean, that, you know, I was, Jeff Bell's assistant season 1, you know, so I only met him in passing a few times, but, you know, he walks into the room and fills it, you know, so it was like so much fun. I know at the time they all loved writing him then, and this was like my chance to finally do it a little bit, you know, at least the spirit of it, you know, and it was so much fun.
And you really captured the essence of that character as well. And James just did the most incredible job. I mean, he's I think potentially popping onto this at some point.
Oh, that'd be great.
And I hope he does, because he's just the nicest person anyway, right? Like he's such a testament to Bill, and then his acting is just off the charts. Was it fun to direct him, Gary? How was that? Because this is his first episode, right?
Yeah, this was his first episode coming to us, and you and I had talked about this before, which is he's not only coming on to a show that's been on for 7 seasons and running at that level and not knowing anybody, but his dad, Bill Paxton, who we all love and loved so much throughout his career and his time with us on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I actually had the good fortune of knowing Bill quite a few years prior to him coming to our show. And, you know, we all certainly miss him dearly, but to come on to our show as Bill Paxton's son, James, and not only to have to step right into that same character that Bill played, but step into those shoes of Bill Paxton was, I think, a pretty big feat. And James handled it so well. He's such a remarkable person, number one, and he's such a remarkable actor. And you know, he, you know, we walked through it in baby steps, you know, and took the time we needed for him to adjust to that character on camera. But he picked it up so tremendously well in such a short amount of time. And it came across, I think, seamlessly.
Oh my gosh, he's electric. You just want to watch him. I want a whole episode of him.
And again, we had so much fun doing it. You know,
Yeah.
he's such a fun guy, and I really appreciate him for his ability and his courage, and I think it's coming across on the screen in this episode as we watch through it. You know, as powerful as we could have ever expected it to be.
Oh my gosh, he is incredible.
Some great mannerisms that he has that are just like these
Yeah.
like little ticks that are not even dialogue. That watching it, you're just like, that is just such a great choice. Yeah, he was so much fun.
And
to
he
watch.
worked so hard on that. Like nothing about his performance was random. Like he was it felt so deliberate. And then being on set with him, I'm sure you had a ton of conversations with him, Gary, but just from being on set as an actor, he was so invested and so wanted, obviously kind of felt the weight maybe of doing a really good job, but he just put everything into it. Like he was, watching him performer to performer, it was such a joy to be in a scene with him and like see the detail of everything he was doing.
Well, you're exactly right, Elizabeth, and it was such a thrill for me as a director to have him as a guest actor on the show that was really there. You know, he wanted to be directed. He wanted to absorb everything like a sponge, everything that he could possibly know and find out, and information, and how did he do in every single take, you know, and we'd look back at the takes, you know, once we finished each one of them, and it was really a nice thing to see it mold into that character from his perspective.
Yeah, it's so fun. We're at the point now where he's at Afterlife and they're kind of watching, I can't remember what his name is, the trainer at Afterlife.
Lee, right?
They're like and Cora's there, and like you get to see, he's just like the slicked back hair and the way he's responding to everything. He just has it. Like he's a superstar.
Yeah.
He's such a fun flavor. I mean, and similar to how his dad always was, but like we're in a very dark part of the season. There's a lot of terrible things happening, especially in the scene right now. I can see it too, you know, but like he was always just like, you know, kept the energy up, and it was a nice flavor for sure.
You know, George, he has that jovial way about him, like Bill did, you know, where the famous line that we say all the time in the episode is, "There he is," you know, he just pulled that off, and it became a kind of a running thing on the set, you know, whenever James would come into the set, I'd go, "There he is," you know? And he'd do the same thing, you know, and when he got a take, you know, perfectly, it was all nailed it, you know, and just those things that his dad was really kind of famous for as a person of that kind of personality that was always uplifting, you know. It was he brought that to the screen and also to the set every day.
Oh yeah, he was so amazing. Melissa, we haven't got the big stunt I don't want to spoil it, but just so that we know a bit more about what it involves when we get there. I think I can say it's a ratchet. Like you kind of, you know, there's a big movement of a body going across space.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, Gary, we just got to the cassette bit. Sorry. Just have to tell you, I love this camera move you guys do with the cassette. I remember that day. Remember that day, Kyle? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Jeff could not have loved that more.
It was so good.
When we we started on the Walkman and then spun the camera and then came up to him singing, and then we see you in the background behind him.
It was really tempting of me just not to come in because he was Jeff was loving his like little singing along. I remember there was a lot of discussion about what song it would be and like how exactly he would be doing it, and like that was all timing, right? Because that was a one-er of the coming off the cassette and then up to him.
Yeah.
Did you guys have to build a special rig for that?
No, I think we did it all handheld.
Wow.
That's funny you guys are saying that it was deciding what he would hum, because George, I remember in the writer's room there was like about 50 or 60 different songs we went through of what we could possibly have him hum, but then we didn't want to like have to pay for the song, so it became a thing of like, I guess we'll let him do something on set. But we had the same discussion in the writer's room.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was gonna say you guys narrowed it down to like 10, and then we had more discussions for a week long in all our meetings.
Well, just after Brent's episode of him ripping off Money for Nothing, we were just like, he can rip off anything. Like, what could we? It's just so much fun stuff to do.
Well, and then those discussions that you don't realize now, having directed, you get that privy of like the prep of how many conversations you have about something that lasts 3 or 4 seconds. And it's obviously so important. It's what makes the show amazing because it's in the details, but it's mind-blowing the like number of versions by the time you get to the set you've gone through of every tiny little thing. Well, the scene turned out great. Oh, we're still in it.
Yeah.
Well, it looks great. It's me and Jeff. It looks great.
You're talking fits, which is always good subject matter.
Yeah, the Fitzsimmons show. Sorry, I interrupted myself talking to you, Melissa. How did you like get into stunts? What was your journey to it? I know it's probably quite a big question, but like, how does it work?
I mean, I think kind of the cool thing about the industry in every aspect of it is that we all have a different story of getting into it. As far as my story, I've been around the film industry for my entire life, so I kind of grew up in it, which was really exciting, from going from a little kid to, in my older years and experiencing on different levels. So that was really exciting for me. And of course, Gary Brown is my dad, so I got to learn from him my entire life, which was super exciting as well, because I couldn't have had a better dad to learn from. But it was really, I had a lot of great mentors, and Tanner Gill was really one of them, and Eric Norris, and they just kind of took me underneath their wing and kind of showed me the ropes. And so I learned a lot really quickly, which was really wonderful. But as far as this ratchet in this episode, it was one of many, but this one in particular was quite challenging because it was a big move. And as I don't want to spoil it yet, but there's a lot of work that had to go into that prior to on the day of shooting. So, which we can go.
Do you rehearse it? Do you kind of, just stunts in general, do you kind of rehearse? How do you rehearse them? Do you like set up a dummy set and do it, or?
There's a rehearsal day, and we'll have stunt pads everywhere, and we start off small. So whatever the move is, you just do baby steps into figuring out how that's going to look and how that's going to appear on screen. So, can take up to a full day of rehearsal and doing that move multiple times before you actually nail it.
Right.
So, and it depends on the move too. It depends on the storyline and what we're trying to achieve.
And then for fight scenes, then you can rehearse them at a gym, right? Often you, like, if you're kind of training one of ours as the actor to be in the fight scene, so you like record it and then you'll teach ours, and there's so much goes into stunts. I feel like that for actors, sometimes it seems like you just kind of come on and are just so kick-ass and like do these superhero stuff and then like go and have lunch, whereas it's like so much rehearsing and then training and then ratcheting. And
well, I mean, it's kind of funny because we rehearse so much, whether it be a fight sequence or a ratchet or a fall of any type.
What's a ratchet?
Yeah, explain a ratchet.
Okay, so essentially Yeah, very good question. Most people don't understand the concept because it's kind of mind-blowing when you talk about it in real life, but essentially it's you wearing a harness attached to a wire, and depending on what the move is, that wire will pull you across a certain space. So you can be twisting in the air, like when you see in Marvel shows or Marvel movies when people are getting hit across the room or into walls, that's generally a ratchet. So it's a movement where you have to have body awareness, but it happens very quickly once you're, in flight.
And then in post, you just paint out the wire, right? Like, especially.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll take all of that out, but the harness will be underneath the attire for whatever you're wearing. So,
Hey, Melissa.
Yes.
Talk about how they make you spin or move in a different direction than just straight back. If the move requires tumbling or flipping.
Yeah, so essentially there's different pick points on a harness, and sometimes we'll do wrap, so that wire will literally have to go around my body or start from the back and attach these little pick points which manipulate your body in the air. So
wow.
Going straight back, the wire is attached to your back and you get pulled backwards with a certain amount of pressure. And it also has a lot to do with where the wire is in comparison to your body. So, it could be from up above or from behind you, or it's really just depends on what you're trying to look for within that scene. But yeah, it's very tricky sometimes.
My gosh, it's there's so much trust that goes involved when
Melissa, should I go get my harness?
Yeah.
so everyone can see it?
Yes.
I have one too.
I have mine here too if we want to bring it out.
Oh my gosh, go get it. I want to see it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing that you are famous for, GB, and that Kyle is freaking incredible at executing is one-ers, I think. Can you, so many in this episode is, well, it's like really it's getting the whole scene in one shot, right?
Yep.
But
I
this
think
episode has a lot of moves, I guess, and a lot of like.
Well, I think it's in the spirit of keeping the camera moving and keeping the dialogue that's written, keep that level of anxiety or stress or happiness up. And it also, if you have a scene that's 2 or 3 or sometimes 8 pages long, which we did,
George.
then you want to cover all the important emotions off the actors' faces. But if you can do that and keep the camera moving at the same time, I think it's kind of a thrilling aspect to the sequence. And I'd love to do one-ers, and we've done, Kyle, we've done more than we can possibly count, but I think that helps satisfy when we go into the prep of how do we make this dynamic scene as visually interesting as we possibly can.
Yeah.
And that's where I don't think we come up with arbitrary movements of the camera. I think we come up with, the camera, as we all know here, is part of telling the emotion, the feeling of the scene, helping us tell the story and get across the dynamics of what's taking place in the scene with the dialogue. And I think that's really what we search out to try to accomplish in our one-ers. Plus, it's fun, we'll come in and we'll go,
oh, cool.
Okay, guys, we got 8 pages today, but we're going to do it in a one-er. And
I just love it.
It's kind of our lucky number. What was that, George?
It said 25 takes later. Not so happy.
Yeah,
At least I'm not.
I was just going to talk about that. Our number we kind of hit every once in a while, Kyle, I think is like 7 or 8 takes on our one-er.
7, 8, or 9.
But when we get into like motion control oneers,
Oh
you know,
my gosh.
I think we were hitting like 12, 14 takes, but
They're so exciting though, because it's everybody's involved in the timing. And if the terrible thing is if you're the last line in a oneer, because if you mess it up, it's like, oh gosh, back to the start. But they're like, it's so fun on set to have those because they do just bring a different energy about it.
I think we did one. I think we did one. Remember when I diagrammed out the whole sequence?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
we had like an entire act that was one scene. And so Kyle and I sat down and we diagrammed either one scene or two scenes, whatever.
Is that David?
And what's that?
Is that when David died?
That was when Davis died.
Yeah, I wasn't in that scene, which I was sad about, but also like it was such
There's 4 sequences.
For you?
Yeah, and Ian, I think had like, he came in like last. And he blew the line, which he's always so good at. And I don't know if he did it on purpose, just because, I didn't know I was supposed to get this right because it's a oneer. I don't know, but you're right. If you're the last one
Oh my God.
to perform and you mess up the line, that's like, the whole crew is like,
Is it hard to light for a oneer, Kyle? Like, because you can't, the lighting has to work for every direction, right?
It is. Well, I mean, you have to start with the rehearsal and just figure out what's the most important moments throughout the whole oneer. So you go from there. You go from the beginning. I was going to mention that you made the joke about being the last actor to say something. Well, if you're 2/3 of the way through and you're operating the camera and you make a hiccup or this, and it's like the actor who talked first, and he or she says, "That was my best one, and you screwed it up."
right.
There's pressure on everyone.
Yeah.
What were you gonna
Oh,
ask?
sorry, but yes, but lighting it is, Uh-oh. No, I was gonna say, so lighting it is just as difficult as anything else. It's just as difficult as the, remembering the lines and not screwing it up, or what time you're coming in, or if there's a stunt coming through. Like we've done oneers where we'll switch an actor and a stunt performer at the same time. So the stunt performer will come through the screen, fall on the ground. They call it a Western switch. And then the actor will come back in and be there in frame. And you're like, how did they do that? So there's so many different challenges through the whole thing. So
Elizabeth, as a director, when you get through a oneer like that and everybody turns to look at the director, say, print, or we got to go again,
Yeah, is it lunch or are we going again?
Why are we going again? What was wrong with that one?
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, you look at all the performances and you look at the camera moves that have to match up with the performances, and the director's got to stand back there with the entire crew looking at him going, and maybe you saw something. Maybe you saw the camera or something in the frame of the camera or something like that wasn't supposed to be there. And you're going, we better go again because it's a oneer and we can't cut into it.
Yeah,
so
it has to be perfect.
Yeah.
Dave, you ask your question, sister.
Oh, I was just wondering, to George and Mark, when you're writing, do you take camera into consideration when you're breaking the story and you're outlining, and then as it's going all the way through to the to when it's locked, do you take into consideration how much, or do you sort of say like, this is on the page and I'm going to let that be determined elsewhere?
In terms of like how far the scene.
Would you write for a runner, like a oneer, and say like, I'm thinking like this is how the camera's going to move, so I'm going to construct a scene to accommodate it.
So I'll let George speak more for the script since he was in that regard. In terms of the outline, I think you're especially when you're on the board, it's a little too early to start thinking about like that stuff. You just you have to go through a notes process with your executive producers and like the studio network and everything. You just want to make sure the story works first, and then I'll let George go for how his process was. But yeah, kind of in the outline stage, it's a little too early to start thinking there.
Right.
Yeah, I think I think at least on this show we tried not to ever be too specific about like cameras here, whatever. But you definitely take great pains to at least convey the intent of the scene, the emotion of the scene. Like Gary was saying, like there are some scenes that need that like energy and momentum and just like fast paced, so like well, I wouldn't usually say like specifically what the camera should be, you know, an experienced director, you know, like Gary would read it and we would probably then sit down to talk about it and he'd be like, okay, so I'm doing a oneer here through the hallway moving fast. And you're like, great, that's exactly what we thought, you know.
And then I guess you
so,
could like change different lines a little bit, or maybe who says it, or if everyone's got a line apart from one person and it's a 1A, then you could maybe change it a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. We're always kind of having those conversations, I think, as we're going through. And one thing, you know, this is Gary and I's third episode actually we've done together. And one of the nice things that I always appreciated about Gary's episodes was early on, maybe after the concept meeting, you know, he'd like pull me aside and we'd sit, he'd already have like 10 questions, you know, or we could talk through a bunch of those things early and kind of get ahead of whatever we both needed, you know.
Right, kind of mold it together.
Well, not to mention too, I mean, George, because we've done 3 together, I mean, we have a nice collaboration as well. And it's a huge asset to me as the director to have somebody that I can come back and say, George, what'd you think about that take? Or did they nail that line that you were really specifically wanting to be made in the script? You know, and we have that kind of collaboration where it's not like it's an adversity. It's like a benefit to have a team like that together. And I appreciate that, you know, with George and all the writers.
Hey, James.
Hey, Elizabeth. Hey, everybody.
Oh, there he is.
Gary.
There he is.
There he is.
What's up, guys?
James, you are
What's going on, man?
so good in this episode. We've basically been singing your praises. You are electric.
You guys are way too kind. I'm thrilled right now. It's so surreal right now watching this. I'm just riding adrenaline right now. It's amazing.
And your hair is so long and blonde.
I know. I had to tie it up, look a little more presentable, but
James,
I have not gotten a haircut since the quarantine.
you nailed it on the hair. Nailed it.
Gary, I miss you. Hey, Jewell, what's up, man?
Going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing
Good to see you.
Great. I'm over the moon right now.
Oh, James, can you talk a little bit about how the process, like how you kind of prepared to play this character? Because we were saying about how it felt like you were so nuanced and the performance was just so intricate and fun. Like, how did you? Because I mean, you know, it was a big deal.
Yeah. That's a great question. Well, the first thing I did was I went back and watched all of my dad's episodes. I watched them all, everyone he did a couple times through, and I'd pause it and replay stuff. And I just noticed the main thing he did with the character that was different to just himself was he had a real cadence, like a very specific cadence for the way he would deliver his lines. But I also, you know, noticed that he just had a blast with it. So like everything, he was like excited, like every line he had packed with excitement behind it. So I kind of just wanted to make sure that I matched that energy level coming into it. And I thought that it could even be potentially ramped up even more in certain moments because this is the younger version. He was probably even more of a hothead and excitable at that age. So I just studied his episodes and I know him, you know, pretty well. So that wasn't too difficult. But it was, so that was pretty much the main, you know, part of the process for me.
It was so great. And Gary was saying about conversations that you guys had. And
Gary and I had a lot of conversations about it for sure.
And I was saying, you know, it was a thrill for me, James, to have that collaboration with you because not only did you know, for the obvious reasons, your dad so well, and then that character that he played, but to step into those shoes, not only your dad's, but into Garrett's shoes, you know, is a big deal. And it was really exciting for me how much you wanted to absorb from that process. And, you know, you and I talked a lot off camera, and then we do it again just to, you know, kind of fine tune it. Mm-hmm. And it was really a thrill to have somebody that, like yourself, who was really excited to be there and excited to play this part. And I'm really proud of you. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you. I was so fun being directed by you. I mean, I remember us, I'd come up to you excited, like, what'd you think about that? And you'd be like, man, that was on. Let's even turn it up a little more.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do that. It was so much fun, and everybody was so kind and welcoming to me. And I was very nervous coming onto the show because you guys have, been doing it so long as a family, really. And I just wanted to make sure that I did not only my dad, but the entire show, justice with, coming aboard. And I was just so honored to be there that I couldn't believe it. I was pinching myself the entire time I was on set, and I'd never been on sets that were so futuristic and intricate and technologically advanced. It was cool.
There are
Don't give
lots
anything
of
away.
effects in this episode. Well, the nice thing too, like you, James, Kyle, Gary, like you just all have this energy that's so kind of playful. Like, you're there for the work, obviously, but you all have this, like the three of you, like figuring out how the scene would go and where you would be and when you would say the different lines or whatever. Like it was just really fun to witness that, because you all
I was just there to hang out with you.
done. Well, I was oddly in the Kyle, when you approach like a scene, do you obviously think about, you have so many conversations with the director before, but then on the day when you're in there and all the actors are in there, like how much does that change? Say if James came in and he was like, oh, I kind of felt like I would start over here, or I'd be walking on this line, or like how much does kind of plan change when you get to the set?
Well, I rely on rehearsals so much for that reason, because things change so much. I mean, I've always had a game plan going into the day, like after sitting for 2 weeks with Gary and whoever else and the writers, and our sets were our sets, but everything changed on at any given moment. So you just have to be. That's why we always kept this fun kind of atmosphere the whole time, because things change so quickly that you can't be upset at that. You just got to be like, all right, well, here we go. We're moving on to the next thing. Let's make the change and we'll do it. It's more fun that way, just to kind of be wide open all day long. So you don't get upset and you're just like, all right, well, that's even better than what I thought yesterday. So let's just do it this way. So I love that. Just the instant change. That's my favorite part. To me, that's the artistic moment that you have to just run with. So
and as an actor, I don't know how you feel, James, but it can be so freeing when you have a team around you that's like, oh my gosh, yeah, well, let's just try it. And then when you have writers that go, yeah, well, let's just see how it sounds with that extra line in, or what, like it creates magic, right?
Oh, absolutely. And Agents for me was, it's quite a physical show. You guys do so many impressive fight scenes and cool fight choreo and stunt work that I really, like Jewell was saying about the rehearsals, it was kind of about just feeling how to move within the space, like what felt the best, to move in the space when you try different things. And that was, it was a challenging part for me, just like with that, getting into that physicality, because but yeah, no, everything Kyle said, was exactly, my experience with the show for sure.
And it's fast, right? Like we have a rehearsal a couple times, and then all of a sudden we're like shooting it. And for your first episode on the show, you have to make a lot of decisions very quickly. And you have to be able to change do it in the rehearsal and then change your mind. And then, it's so important, I think, to have that flexibility. Yeah.
But you guys are pros. I knew I was in good hands. If I was ever felt, this doesn't feel right, I knew that I could, I could just speak up and you guys would be like, oh, okay, let's try it this way. Or you guys always knew how to troubleshoot any problem on the set. I remember actually we were having trouble with the beer getting shot out of my hand gag at the beginning.
Yeah.
And that was one of the first scenes I think I shot with you, Gary.
Right.
First one. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
It was
Yeah.
the first one.
hey,
Yeah.
George.
Hey,
Hey.
man.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, that took it was really tricky getting that timing right. I was either like reacting too soon or reacting too late, that was a really technical trick. I'd never seen anything like that before. It was cool.
When you've got to do it and then you also have to act.
Yeah. Getting the timing right, that was really tricky. Really
Yeah.
tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Melissa, did you bring your, what is it, harness?
Yeah, I have it right here.
We're talking, James, about there's like a big stunt that happens towards the end. It hasn't been on yet. And Melissa was explaining how ratchets work and how harnesses, how the kind of wires attached to harness and everything. So then Ray Candy went and got it for us.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we use these harnesses from Timing Sutra, and essentially you can see right here, this is the back of the harness. These go in between your legs, and then the front of the harness just comes together with these 3 different points. But essentially, like, these areas right here are the pick points, and that's where the wire will attach. So whether it be here or around the front, if you're doing a circular gag or something like that, there's lots of pick points all over the place.
And that goes underneath your costume. So say if you were doing a stunt for Daisy, say, you would have that underneath and then like Daisy's costume on top, and then
Correct.
you put a hole for the wire.
Yeah. So then wardrobe would come in and they would just cut a little bit of piece off of the wardrobe, and then that wire would thread through, basically. Yeah.
And then do you have you have pads on depending on where you're like what you're doing, or?
Yeah, I mean, for most stunt gags, it's elbows and knees and tailbone, hips. Those are kind of the basics that are mostly needed, but it just depends on what the gag is. But most of the time, those are the necessities that you'll wear.
Do you remember what protection you had on the stunt that's coming up?
Oh, I had everything.
Oh, you did?
I had back pad, elbows, knees, hips, tailbone, the works. Because in that type of gag, you just don't, things happen and you could land differently that time, or, fall in a different angle. But during rehearsals, you prepare for that and you try different ways so that when it comes on the day, you can kind of understand what your body's going to do and how it's going to land.
Yeah. Gary, did you shoot all your second unit on this? Because Gary, we've said it before on different episodes, but like you shoot all the second unit with Kyle, which has a lot of the fight scenes in from other episodes. Who did your second unit?
Well, I also direct my second unit, which everybody makes fun of, because when Gary's episodes come up, it goes from 8 or 9 days to 10 days, but it's kind of not fair because I'm not the only one that has directed 10-day episodes. Everybody seems to think I'm the only one, but yeah, no, I've had the opportunity to direct second unit on every episode that we've ever shot, and it's been an amazing course of action for me and for Kyle and all of us on the second unit, because we've done some amazing stunts and some amazing action, and it's been a huge learning experience. And I believe that if you're not learning something new every day, you might as well just move on, because there's so much to learn in this business, and especially when you're doing the action unit portions of it, because there's always something new that's going to come up, something new you might want to try, and a situation that might arise out of the location that you're at, or the running of the cars, or whatever it is. So it's been a thrill ride for sure.
Pretty
That's an
much.
understatement.
Oh, yeah. Well, and Kyle, like I've run out of the things I've seen you in wetsuits, diving underwater with a camera, like hanging from a wire up on a crane, like the stuff you do. I mean, you're fearless.
Yeah.
And
How
a bit
about,
crazy.
how about driving down the road on an 18-wheeler on the roof
Yeah.
at 40 miles an hour?
Yeah.
Or hanging out the side of a helicopter.
Gary loves a helicopter.
Gary loves a good helicopter.
Have to have the helicopter.
No drones. Helicopters are better.
Oh my gosh, Melissa, we're about to potential. Oh no, it's in a minute, I think. Spoiler. I haven't been able to think about anything other than your stunt since I watched it.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I'm excited to see it too. I think it turned out really well, I heard. That's kind of exciting.
It did. You'll have to watch the. Oh well, what timing would you watch it?
And it comes on in 10 minutes here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh well, brilliant! You can watch along with this at the same time.
Oh,
Hello, perfect. Gary, we're at a scene now where it's Daisy and I want to say Deechin, but Jiaying. And it's like a lot. We just, how would you describe?
And
like
Tom.
we just and Tom, and we just went around. Like there's a lot of like it's slow mo and then it speeds up and it's very emotional. And we are in a corridor. Thanks so much to Mark and George for that. We're in the corridor again.
Great hallway, great hallway.
Great hallway, great hallway.
Yes.
How do you
They just rode us right into a corner.
Yeah.
Literally.
basically like the ceiling looks the same as the walls, looks the same as the floor? But it's such an interesting scene to watch. There's so much in it. How did you approach this scene, Gary? Do you remember?
Well, you know, yeah, I think you have to take a look at the type of scene it is, first of all, and then what happens throughout the scene all the way to the end.
A
And
terrible
so-
thing just happened in the scene, just so you know.
What happened?
A terrible thing to Jiaying.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, it just shocked me. That's why I just took my breath away.
So did the gag that Melissa did just happen?
Yeah. It
Yeah.
looks so good. And now everything's shaking. There's so much that happens in the scene. And by the way, Chloe looks amazing. I mean, it was also Melissa, but like you guys look amazing.
Yeah, you killed.
Oh,
This
that
scene
was
is
pretty-
so
I mean, that was
good.
Oh my God, it's so good.
This is
I mean,
so
that was a pretty
powerful.
radical stunt that Melissa did, but we had to change that up and make it that dynamic because basically Thomas comes in and has a similar power to Daisy, but his twists and turns. So we had to accomplish that with Melissa playing Daisy in that portion of it to make that effective.
That was a crazy day. That was a
yeah.
very long, that whole sequence was a full day, like a very long, hard day.
Yeah,
for everybody.
it was.
I mean,
Wow, was it? So that whole scene took what, 12 hours?
I think so. I mean, maybe there was
Yeah.
something else I don't remember, but it was a full
A
day.
lot.
And we had to overlap a portion of Ming's scene to another day. But yeah,
That's
it was a pretty dynamic scene. And I mean, Melissa and the stunt team did a great job on that gag. But I also have to say that the performances by Chloe
Oh my
and
God.
by Deechin throughout this episode were fantastic. They were, I mean, the scene that was in the control room between the two of them, and then this scene where Jiaying finds out that this is really her daughter, it's just incredibly moving. And they did such a terrific job together on making this come out in, I mean, one of the most important, I think, sequences in the whole series is this realization.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it was terrific.
We just saw when you were saying, Kyle, about doing like switching out actors and like in Awana, we just saw that scene, GB, when it's Sousa going down the corridor and I'm behind him, and then the camera comes around and then it's James and me and
Right.
like, do you remember that? That was
Oh,
one
yeah.
we were talking, James, about like how Oneers can be so stressful and the timing and everything. That
Oh, yeah.
I'm remembering this right? That you like jumped in mid shot.
Yeah, I kind of had to follow where the camera was pointing and stay behind it until. So I think Kyle, I was kind of just behind you the whole time, wasn't I?
Yeah, so you
I
would
was
just walk right behind us, and then we would kind of wave you in just at the right moment.
Yeah, I stood behind you, and then I kind of ducked behind that quarter, and then before you spun, I had when the camera's off on Enver, I ran into the shot.
That's right.
And then Elizabeth, you and I like set up really quick.
Yeah. And then those marks were so as actors you have marks on the floor, which is where you kind of you're meant to hit them so that the camera knows like where you are and focus and everything. Those marks in that corridor were so specific, but because we saw the floor, these marks were like, I mean, minuscule.
Yeah.
And then, oh my God, remember there was the light gag for what is your power that you like teleport?
Teleport, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Light had to happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we had like 10 people all working at the same dance. We used to call it the dance. I mean, that's the best. The in-camera tricks are the best way to do these shots because you never know where it is, and you don't cut out of that entire shot, and you guys are just bounce right into the scene without anything happening. And then we put the light gag overhead, and it just the next person that needs to be involved just turns the light on at the right moment. And if that screws up, then we got to go back to one.
And you know, Elizabeth, we had a similar scene with you and James in the cargo hold where we were focusing on another group of actors, and then you two appear in this transporting situation, which is very similar to what Kyle was just describing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's so many bits and pieces. I remember that day, Gary, because wasn't that, I feel like maybe that was the end of the day that we did that scene, and you announced it was going to be a oneer, and I think we all went home at like 4:30, 5 o'clock.
AM.
See what kind of energy those oneers bring?
Yeah.
That's it. That's because everyone's like, oh my God, we could get this done in 10 minutes. Come on.
Yeah.
I gotta go home.
Worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Kyle, could you say just a little bit about how you became a DP? Because it's a little bit, for me, you're like it's the top guy. Like, so it feels sometimes like it could be maybe impossible to get there. What was your journey?
Well, I mean, I started at the bottom in the camera department years ago, 20 years ago, as a film loader. And then when I got onto the show, I was just a focus puller, and Gary gave me the opportunity to start shooting. I mean, I was just shooting years ago when I came out of film school, but then when I moved to Los Angeles, it was a very small fish in a big pond. So I had to work my way up, and Gary gave me opportunity after opportunity. And that's why one of the reasons why I think we work so well together, that here we are looking for the next thing to do. So, I mean, I'm very thankful for Gary and the whole team over there at Shield, because they gave me every opportunity across the board, and it's been just a wild ride the whole way. So I love it. I mean, the artistic, everything that goes along with being a DP is just the best part for me, it's the best part of all filmmaking. So,
you've done some amazing work, Kyle, and I appreciate you.
Well, thanks, Gary. I appreciate you too.
Well, it's something this show does really well, and I don't know about, like, I haven't really worked on many other shows, so what do I know? But it like really fosters talent, and if you work hard, like how many people on this call, like Kyle started for a camera loader and focus puller on Shield. Like Mark, you were an assistant to an exec. I was an actor that got to direct. It's like there's such an upward mobility, and I think a lot of that, which I'm so happy you're on here, GB, is because it comes from the top. It comes from someone going, yes, I'm going to foster your talent, or yes, Kyle, shoot when I do second unit, and yes, I want to read your script, and what might your pitch be, and like Gary, so much of that comes from you.
Well, I think it comes from the philosophy of Jed, Marissa, Jeff, and myself wanting to give this family opportunities to do the things that maybe they wouldn't have an opportunity to do elsewhere. And that was really a big thing for us all the way through, is that when people would come to us with the excitement of getting to the next level and doing something they've always dreamed about, we were more than happy to help make that happen. And I think that was part of this big, amazing family that we had all these years on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that is you know, I think we're all going to always look back on this show and think of the amazing opportunities, the amazing work, and the amazing people that we had opportunities to be involved with every single day of the week for 7 years.
Yeah, wasn't that so crazy?
Yeah.
Oh, good
My little girl that was just sitting here, she was born in season 1.
Wow, no way.
Yeah.
Well,
You know, when I came to visit Dad during season 1, I think for a day or two, and met everybody. But you know, Elizabeth, I was like, I wonder if she's still gonna remember me. Like I was when I came on, because I think I was 19 when I first visited the set, and
yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I know, and you guys were all so welcoming. I was like, because you can imagine how nervous I was coming on, but I just got to say, like, everything Gary just said rings true. I mean, every single person that I worked with on this and got to meet and got to know was just a top-notch person, like inside and out, and talent-wise, and just as human beings. And it was just amazing. And I can't stress enough how grateful I am for this experience.
Oh my God. Well, you absolutely nailed it. The tag just happened. I got so caught up in a good conversation, but it's such a fun ending with you and Malik and Simmons all kind of trapped together. It's such a fun, congratulations, James, because you absolutely nailed this episode. It's so fun. Like, I'm ready for the spin-off. So George, Mark, like, you get going on that.
You guys know how to reach me. I'm ready too. You direct, Elizabeth, and you and Gary team up, and because your episode was fantastic, your directorial debut.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I was looking online too. Everybody was going crazy for it.
Oh my God. Well, thank you.
You know, it's so awesome to see all of you guys. And Elizabeth, thank you so much for making this happen. Yeah. You know, listen, I can be happier to have been involved in this amazing show for all these years. And as a dad, I mean, look at my daughter, who I've had the privilege of being around me my entire career, from when she was a baby in Stephen Cannell's arms on Hunter when I was doing that, to now being a stunt girl on this show, and me being able to have the opportunity to direct her has been pretty awesome. But this whole experience has been extremely rewarding for me, and just a pleasure for me to see all you guys and be involved in this.
Yeah, you too. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Amazing episode.
Bye, guys. Good to see everybody's faces.
Yeah, you too.
Bye, guys.
You too, James.
Bye, guys.
Stay safe, guys. Bye.
Yes,
Bye.
stay
Thank
safe.
you,
See y'all
Elizabeth.
soon.
Thank you, GB.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Bye, Zach.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Good to see everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Lou.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for all your questions. I try and get to them, but I'm just seeing a lot of people wanting fits and a lot of people saying how incredible James Paxton was, which he is. So thanks for watching. See you next week.
Thanks for watching. What?
I didn't know if you were going to say something.
Thanks for watching.